You can't tell how strong she is until you put her in hot water. One such strong-faced woman is our next speaker, Thasleem. Nada Kriya Yoga, Shiva Yoga, which has led to an experiment of sound, brain and nervous system. Invitation to the world of autism was a happening and now working towards the goal of life. Hand it over to her. Thank you, ma'am. We welcome you to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. So, to begin with, hello, everyone. My journey began with my own seeking of the self and a spiritual search, and then whatever I started to experience and what I started to live finally led me to the world of autism. So it was like somewhere it began with me, and then the journey continued and it blended with the world of autism and autistic individuals. So I begin with a little story. Like, I was in my late 20s and there was this kind of a seeking that I'm here to do something, but I didn't know what it was, and there was always this kind of a seeking, a restlessness. When everything was fine, I was living a good life and everything was fine with the personal life. And then the search led me to my teacher, one Mr. Ashok Kumara. He is a gold medalist from IIT Chennai and he was working with Microsoft USA. We didn't meet actually, the communication happened over emails, and then he introduced me into the world of Nada Kriya Yoga. And I had this kind of a seeking that I'm here for something, and there is something, I had lots of queries and questions, but I didn't have any answers as such. And Ashokji, he led me into the world of Nada Kriya Yoga. Nada Kriya Yoga opened up a beautiful world of mantras, sounds from the ancient scriptures, from the sacred languages. And then because Ashokji is an engineer and he's a gold medalist from IIT Chennai, for him everything was scientific approach. So he said, sounds are very deeply connected to the brain and the nervous system. Experiment to experience. That was the word he told me. Experiment and you will experience it. And then I started, and I was at a stage where my seeking had reached that point where I was very much in need of answers, or else I would crumble. You know, there was this kind of, I couldn't be comfortable, though I had anything and everything, a comfortable life, but then I just couldn't settle down with my own self. So, kind of a last straw point in my life where then I hooked on, I clinged on to Nada Kriya Yoga. Until then, I was very much a businesswoman with a career consultancy and then helping people to migrate and settle down in Australia and then having an industrial catering unit and all that. But one fine morning, I decided to shut down everything and close down everything. And within a week's time, I wrapped up everything and then started my sadhana. I spent around 8 hours a day experimenting the sounds. And it was like I was wanting to experiment and I was wanting to see what is there on the other side. And after a while, the world of sounds and mantras opened up. They opened up their brilliant world to me. And like Dr. Abubakar yesterday started off with his presentation where he said a dream-like state where autistic individuals exist in a dream-like state. So to me the beginning was with dreams. And it so happened that it was like a state of awakening where I started getting dreams where I was aware. The dreams, it was a world of dreams. I was traveling, I was meeting, or I was getting introduced to new teachings or techniques, but I was totally aware in my world of dreams. I could totally recollect. When I was awake, I could recollect everything from what I had seen in the world of dreams. And then, like Ramanand gave a very brilliant presentation today about the pineal gland and the third eye. I didn't know much about the theory of pineal gland or the third eye at that point of time, but I started to see beyond the physical senses. And then seeing led to hearing, and hearing led to feeling and experiencing. So I was in a way getting introduced to the existence of our children, how they were seeing, how they were hearing, how they were perceiving, and how they were feeling. So I didn't know much about autism. I didn't know, or rather I hardly knew anything about autism. So that is where my journey began, and then today I'm here presenting the story. So this is one number, 555, which started appearing in my dreams, and then I would see a hand writing it on my forehead, or I would hear a voice talking to me about 555, and a very mysterious thing started to happen to me, that I started hearing verses which had perfect meter, which had perfect rhythm, which were rhyming, and which were in a language which I was not aware of. It was coming in ancient Tamil. I started to hear these verses, and there was also a verse, and I also received a verse explaining 555. It said, Irumurai irando nangagum, nango irumurai ennagum, ஐந்தைந்தென்று முறை மூன்று அறம் ஆறும் ஆறாகும் ஓர் இரவின் விடிவாம் ஆறுமுகனாகும். When I received, I didn't know that this had a very deep connection with the world of autism. I made a note of it in the diary because by then I had got into this habit of slipping up a notepad and a pen under my pillow, because when I received, I had to make a note of it, or else I would forget. And that made me realize that this was not springing from my brain. Anything that comes out of your brain it will remain in your memory, but then it was very hard for me to memorize it or remember it, so I had to make a note of it. This number started to haunt my life. It rocked my life. It changed my life. This number was, this dream would appear and reappear, 555. Sometimes there would be a vehicle in front of my house with the number 555, and I would have a query, and very casually when I open the door and go out, there is a car, mostly it is white in color, I really don't know what it meant, and then no one could get out of the car or get into the car, and when I see 555, the car would just move on. This kind of a very strange phenomena. Yes, ma'am.
3 cars in the same day.
Yeah, 3 cars in the same day, and this continued, and this number flashed, and kind of receiving the verse and all that. And after getting into the world of autism, I realized that this has a very great significance to the whole of mankind itself. 555 is actually, if we can say numerically where the mankind stands today, it is 555. And then when I was reading through Secret Doctrine and Gnostic teachings and other things, I came across this diagram which spoke about races, several races, and this is an inevitable happening. This is the evolutionary cycle. It's already written, it's already encoded. This is the grand design and the grand plan. And there are races, and they are supposed to come one after the other. And we began on planet Earth. We began with polar race, Hyperborean race, Lemurian race, which we know as Kumarikandam, and then Atlantean race, and 5th race is the Aryan race. We are the 5th race. We belong to the Aryan race, and each race it has 7 sub-races. So the first 5 denotes the 5th race, where we stand today, where the mankind stand today, the Aryan race, and the second 5 denotes the 5th sub-race to which we belong, and the third 5 denotes the 5 senses out of which we have been operating, which we are aware of till then. This is where the twist is. Now is the time for the 6th sub-race to arrive on planet Earth. So, are they already here? Because 6th sub-race, they have very different features in them. They operate out of 6th sense, and they connect to the 6th element, and they are the 6th sub-race of the 5th race. And as per the hidden history of humankind, sixth root rays actually start to appear on earth when the sixth sub-rays appear. So they take a lot of time to come to ground, to settle down, to merge, to become one with the existing rays, and then to exhibit and then to come out with what actually they hold. So, and then 5 years back, it was very casual. I wanted to do a certificate course on counseling because people started to come to me to learn mantras, and the counseling was naturally happening, but I didn't have any certification on counseling or psychology. So I went very casually to learn, to take up a certification course in counseling and psychology, but then they had just finished a batch, and then they said there is a certificate course on special education learning difficulty, and then I was pushed, like Nirupama said, I didn't want to do it. But then I was pushed into the course, and then soon after that, after 2 weeks, I was introduced to a school, Bodhi, and then and I started going there as a part-time teacher, and then there I met a whole bunch of autistic children, and that was my first introduction to the world of autism. So 555 is the milestone where we are today, and when I started interacting with children and I started moving very close with the children and started introducing the Nadakriya Yoga techniques with the children, they started to reveal that they are the sixth sub-race. They are here with their very salient features, and they are different from us. So this is one quote which I found in Sacred Doctrine from Madame Blavatsky, which clearly signified our children. It says, sixth root race souls will silently come into existence, so silently indeed that for long millenniums shall its pioneers, our children, its pioneers, the peculiar children who will grow into peculiar men and women, be regarded as anomalous laws of nature, abnormal oddities, physically and mentally. Then, as they increase and their numbers become with every age greater, one day they will awake to find themselves in a majority. It is the present men who will then begin to be regarded as exceptional. This says it all. This she wrote in 1886. And she also says, in the 21st century, peculiar boys and girls would start to arrive in the United States of America. That's where autism would grow, evolve, spread into different corners of the world for them to be there existing, for them to anchor what they are here to anchor, the sixth element and the sixth sense. And then when I started interacting with children, I was only teaching kids with learning difficulty. I was not actually teaching the children with autism. So in my room I had a glass door, and the place Bodhi had both the facilities, like learning difficulty children and then autistic children were there. So I was with children with learning difficulty, and the room will be locked. But whenever and it had a glass door, and whenever I started chanting particular mantras, boys from the other room would come and tap at the door. They wanted to come in. So I wondered, how could they hear? They were 2 rooms away. There was always hustle and bustle and occupation therapy going on in the main hall. I was inside my room, and I had a glass door which was locked very much. But then the boys would, and there was one Arjun, I distinctly remember, he would just get out of the class, come, be there at the door, knock, open. He wanted to experience the world of mantras. And when I chanted, they wouldn't react. They would be just silent, about 8 boys in a class, in a room. They would be in their own corners, doing their own work. But the day I didn't chant, I realized how much they wanted it. The day I didn't chant, because I had to go a couple of hours earlier to spend time with them to do a little bit of chanting and then to take up my class. The day I didn't chant, one came and he just pulled my dupatta and said, Om, Om, Om. And he kept telling me the whole day because I didn't chant. So they were receiving, though they were not expressing, they were receiving.
They were wanting it. They were feeling the healing energies in the vibration of the sounds. And with one hyperactive child, I was experimenting lots of sounds, and then he was so hyperactive, he was a school dropout, he was taken away from the school, Abhishek, and then Mahishasura Mardhini Stotra worked wonders with him. It matched the speed of the child's brain. It matched, and then he went back home. He called me from home. He wanted his mother to call me, and then he called me from home and he asked, Miss, adu neenga enna chant panninga? What were you chanting there in the class today? I wanted to hear again and again. And he calmed down. In that year when he came to me, he couldn't read or write, but for the alphabets and some words. But within a span of 6 months, he started to read, he started to write. He learned quarter of his own 4th standard syllabus, and the next year he was absorbed back in his school. So that was like a revelation to me that children were absorbing, it was healing them. And then of course I started experimenting it with children with autism, someone who had difficulty in sound tolerance, singing bowl, using the singing bowl helped them to calm down. And so this is where the communication started to happen. And then somewhere I realized that they are able to sense, they are able to feel, they are able to know without verbal communication. There was a non-verbal communication happening, and then at a later point I realized that they were operating from a sense of prakamya. This also was revealed to me in an early morning hour when I was in a half asleep state, where it said prachina, prakamya, paradharma, parikrama, Parinama, Paramonnata, Parameshwara, Parameshwari. And this verse was revealed. I then did not know the meaning of Prakamya until I started a year ago. I started closely interacting and getting the messages of children Chandrakant and Niranjan and Hariram and Bharat and Vishal. And with Vishal I experienced very deep, my experience of Prakamya was very deep with Vishal. Prakamya is nothing but a state where there is full expression and free working of all the senses. That is where our children are. They have a full blossomed senses. A person dwelling in a state of Prakamya can relate and feel other person's thoughts. They can relate and feel other person's thoughts, feelings and sensations. Their present chittam or mind will have impression remains from the past and also what is planned for the future. Prakamya is the state of autistic individuals. This is how they are existing. This is how they are able to pick everything. This is how they are able to sense from others. This is making their existence also difficult because they are all along dwelling in a state of prakamya. They are able to feel, they are able to see, they are able to hear, they are able to sense, and their chittam, their mind, has the impressions from the past and the future. Like Maitri ma'am said yesterday, that she is not allowed to talk the most brilliant stories. They are the secrets of the autism world, so time will reveal much more because they have been revealing how much they remember, because life is continuous. Continuity of consciousness is what life is. So they are remembering so much from the past, and they also know about the future. Like Vishal told us, we didn't have, we live in Tiruvannamalai, Pekka and I, and we didn't have any mode of communication. And then Vishal said, you will get a bike and you will get a car. We didn't get a car, it was a borrowed vehicle. But when next time when Vishal came to stay with us, we had a bike as well as a car. So it is like, and then Vishal says, buy a ladder. January you have to begin the construction of the Vyarasa. So this is how, and so far whatever Vishal has been communicating, it had lots of relevance, it has lots of significance. So they kind of hold the seeds of past and the seeds of future. And with Prakamya comes the state of Vyapti. These words are in the ancient scriptures. Prakamya and Vyapti are very much in our ancient scriptures expressing what they are. So the sensory issues that our children face, that it springs from the Vyapti, which is an inevitable happening. When one is dwelling in the state of Prakamya, one cannot help but be in the state of Vyapti as well. Vyapti is the corresponding reception to the state of Prakamya. Person living in Vyapti will experience all the sensory intake in one's own consciousness through the state of Vyapti. Prakamya and Vyapti are the means by which autistic individuals connect with each other. They feel, experience, see and live in everyone's consciousness who comes in touch with them. There is one child in Chennai writing about a herb and how the herb can help clear or cure certain skin diseases. And there is another child in Kerala who is giving a much brief or much elaborate explanation of the same herb and how many varieties of this herb exist and how this herb can be converted into a medicinal oil. And there is another child in another part of Kerala when question says, someone from Chennai has already communicated, someone from Kerala has already given you the explanation, are you trying to test me? I have nothing to say. That is Vyapti. Bharat, Chandrakant and Hariram. So that is Vyapti. They exist in each other's consciousness because that is how they are. Because they are the next root race, that is their natural state, that is how their existence is. And now we are at a stage where we have to build the bridge of love, because we belong, like I yesterday very vehemently spoke about this old software and updated software. We have reached a stage where we have to build, like Nirupama very beautifully said, they are descending and we have to ascend. That is the process. And building the bridge of love is very, very important. Or rather, that is the stage we are there today. So, elevating the self to activate the Antakarana is one tool to build the bridge of love. Antakarana is the science of mind. And our children, Kalpana is there? Do you have the picture, Kalpana? Whatever it is, we were talking, Kalpana and I were sharing the ideas and views, and then she had a dream. Can I have it, Kalpana? She had a dream about this souls having this channels from the head up into the higher consciousness, just as Nirupama has made the pictures. So, it's okay, but I wish to show it. See, this is like a little diagrammatic representation of Antakarana. We have this advertisement of, I think, glucose, where the straw, Saksita. Antakarana is something similar. Antakarana was our natural state in our ancient times. Antakarana is the natural state in which our rishis and adepts existed. That was a very natural state where we were already connected to the highest universal consciousness or the collective consciousness. Somewhere, but that again is niyati, that again is the cycle of evolution. One can't help it, nobody is to be blamed. One has to come down, this is a cycle, one has to lose the essence, touch the rock bottom, then go up to find the essence. This is a natural cycle of evolution. And the pollution or moving out of the nature, science, technology, this is a natural cycle of life. So somewhere we have lost touch with Antakarana, and our children are here. They are here to tell us that now is the time to build the bridge of love. Now is the time to build Antakarana, which can connect us, each one of us, to the higher consciousness, helping us to evolve, helping us to ascend. And how is this possible? Through aligning the thought, word and deed. It is very simple yet very complex. One can start building. Antakarana comes crashing down when there are conflicts, when there is tension and turmoil. Antakarana builds up. It is a natural process. builds up when the thought, word and deed are aligned. Through giving up all the crudeness in the self, this is the message children are bringing to us. And unconditionality and self-mastery. Yesterday when I was talking with, that kind of an aggression or vehemence about self-mastery, it was only because these children are here as the messengers of self-mastery. See, if there is a little cut in any part of the body, or if a little flesh is torn out of a part of the body, it hurts to the core. These children, like Nirupama was demonstrating, she was saying, these children, they do not have their total spirit integrated into their physical self. And it is my personal understanding that it is their choice. They have made this choice. Like Madam Blavatsky says, they are the pioneers. And they have made this choice not to bring their whole soul consciousness into the physical self. If they do that, they have the threat of getting lost in the world of Maya, in the world of illusion. So they have made this painful choice of leaving one part of their soul consciousness somewhere out there in the universal consciousness, and they have come here half-grounded to teach us, to share the message of love, unconditionality and self-mastery. Because when I started traveling the path of Nadakriya Yoga, when I started to see, when I started to hear, when I started to feel beyond the senses, I could sense the pain the children are going through. They are not totally grounded in their physical self. The pain the parents go through taking care of the children. So it is a choice that they have made, and we have to honor the choice these children have made. They didn't want to get lost in the world of illusion. They didn't want to get lost in the world of Maya. So they took up the pain on themselves. They are the pioneers. They took up the pain on themselves to teach us self-mastery. It is a state where we have to acknowledge that they are the masters. They are, yes?
Bearing the cross for us.
Yes, exactly. Bearing the cross for us. They are literally bearing the cross and bearing the pain for us. And they are here to teach us the key is self-mastery. The key which Ramanand showed, the key is the self-mastery. Self-mastery can activate the pineal gland, because self-mastery comes when the status